So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, our today's topic is storage and management of medicines in a pharmacy. So, you can see in this picture how the drugs are stored. Mostly, this thermometer shows that what temperature the drugs needed. At what temperature the drugs are stored to keep their stability intact. Why you are going to store on desired required temperature? Because if they are stored in higher or lower temperature, stability or efficacy of the drug has been altered. Similarly, you can see have various drugs. You have seen or you may have purchased. There is a label, instructions, label guidance is written over there, how to store. You can see in second picture there is storage conditions written over this, not more than 0 degrees Celsius to 8 degrees Celsius, necessary for many products. You can see there's another drug, nitroglycerin is there. Keep this on cool temperature. Means there is a written that the drug has to be stored at cool temperature, means must be below 30 degrees Celsius. Another is the drug has to be refrigerated. Mostly insulin and such drugs, the thermolivals, the drugs have to be stored in a refrigerator. So you can see in that picture that insulin is stored in a refrigerator. So mostly insulin is stored at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Then after application, it again kept back to that refrigerator. Just take out, or sometime when you are going to shift, you have to dispense. So these drugs must be accompanied with the ice packs. They must be accompanied with the must be packed in an ice pack. So the temperature requirement remain maintained. The cold chain may be maintained. Otherwise, if it is placed in hot weather, the efficacy may be deteriorated and the stability may be altered. If you go through next. So what you have to do in a hospital during storage? What then needs to be managed to ensure secure and storage. First is the secure storage, means free from any theft, whatever it is. So it must be secure. Then second, must be clean and correct environmental condition during storage. You may have clean environment at your homes. Similarly, when you store the drugs, it must be stored in a clean environment. Then accurate and effective record keeping. It is very must that whatever the inventory, it has to be done properly. Inventory must be maintained, means if accurate and effective record keeping, means inventory, the receiving and issuing record must be maintained. Nowadays, various different softwares are available, computers are available on which the drugs has to be recorded. Earlier, there was stock ledgers were there. On these stock ledgers, the record was maintained. So now different types of softwares are available on which the records are stored. Records are kept. That another effective stock rotation and expiry monitoring. So when you dispense someone, they has to be rotated. The stocks must be rotated and expiry monitoring has to be done. Stock rotation and expiry monitoring means whenever you have this first, the stock which has to come first, it has to go first. So they may be rotated. Mostly effective fire and theft prevention, because there can be electric shock, there can be fire, can be happen in a pharmacy. So effective fire extinguisher must be fixed over there. If there is a fire happen, so emergency may be called, fire brigade may be called, or fire extinguisher must be fixed in that pharmacy, so to avoid any fire. And for the proper safeguard of the stocks must be maintained to avoid pilferage or theft of their stocks. Another one is rodent and pest, because mostly the pharmacies are on a ground floor, so there can be chance of rodent and pest can be entered in that pharmacy, so they can deteriorate, they can destroy the medicine over there. What step has to be taken for the management of a pharmacy stock. First, when you receive the stock, it must be placed, it must be kept under a quarantine area. All the stocks must be stored, must be kept in a separate area that is known as quarantine. They kept in quarantine and then they have to inspect the stock. Over there, you have to check the stocks which are received. Then they have to store in a proper container, proper shelves, proper cupboard, proper designated area as per the requirement of the temperature. Stock control and expiry monitoring has to be done. So these all things has to be done for the management of the stocks. So how you inspect in a quarantine of stocks? Mostly the quarantine area has to be colored, have given a color of red color. So you can see over the left side the quarantine area when the drugs are placed before checking. So new stock received must be kept in quarantine area until inspection is done to avoid intermixing with these. So whatever the stocks, fresh stock must be placed in quarantine area where they are properly inspected. This area should be marked and identified adequately to distinguish it from other areas by giving a red color to that. You could learn in the industrial pharmacy that there are quarantine area in red, then there is a yellow area, then there is a pass area. The yellow area is mostly for that where the drugs has to be examined. And then if they are qualified, if they are passed, if they are fit for the consumption, they may be placed to green area. So this area should be marked and identified adequately to distinguish it from other areas by giving red color to that area. The quarantine area must have racks, shelves, or cupboards to prevent ingress of moisture, dirt, and other contaminants. So it may not be placed over the floor. It must have proper shelves, racks over there. These has to be stored. This has to be placed. So to avoid from moisture, if they placed over the floor and dirt and other contaminations. Now the checking has to inspection to be carried out new stocks. So first one, unpacking and decartoning has to be done. All the cartons has to be opened and inspection of the stock has to be done. Supplies received should be unpacked and checked in the quarantine. So this all has to be done in a quarantine area. All the cartons has to be open and the stores stocks has to be checked. Those drugs which needed to be refrigerated, they may be placed in refrigerator. So if there is a if there is availability of refrigerator, so it may be placed in that quarantine area. Otherwise, the regular refrigerator where they can be stored over there. The refrigerator medicine supplied should not remain in the current area for a longer period, because if they remain for longer period in a hot area, they may lose their efficacy and potency of the drugs. So what another thing you have to done, because you have to, all the stocks must be tagged with stock cards or batch cards. For every batch of medicine must be tagged or hang on the stock. So it must be tagged with the batch cards or stock cards. Medicine must be received from the authorized supplier to prevent spurious and counterfeit drugs from entering the pharmacy. So it must be received from the person or from the agent or from the authorized agent to whom the order was purchased. None from others. It may not be received because to avoid the spurious and counterfeit drugs may be entered in a pharmacy over there. Now here is a design of a stock card. Mostly has to be placed over that each stock, over each drug. This is a design of a stock card in which you can have date received from, issued to, number of how much received, how much issued, balance over there, remarks, and signature of that technician who have to handle the pharmacy in the store. Yes. So this is a design of a batch card or stock card. Every drug, every stock must be accompanied, must be tagged with this type of a stock card. You will further say that how this stock card handled. You can say there's another design of that item is amoxicillin. It's dosage form. It is a 250 milligram tablet over there. Code is written over there. Packaging unit, box, how much the quantity was received. Similarly, the date, origin, in and out stock, remarks, whatever to be done. So brought forward the previous stock, there was 20,000 over there, then 80,000 are again received, it becomes 1 lakh. So similarly, they have now health care center one, whatever in your case, when you become a pharmacist in a hospital, so how in the hospital, that unit department must be written over there, like the 2 June 19, they have issues 5,000 health center one. In your case, when you become pharmacist in a tertiary care hospital, you may have to write that unit, their medicine unit, surgical, whatever. So wherever it has to be dispensed or issued, it has to be properly, batch card has to be maintained. So further we go there. Checking should be seen not simply as counting the units received, but as a part of the quality assurance system. So it must be physically checked. You have to check each strip, each vial, each capsule, whatever. It has to be must quality assured that no any wrong drug may be entered over there. So it must be counted, must be checked with naked eye, with physically, that how the stock is available there. This should include visually inspecting the packaging, then they checking the integrity of the container, whether there's no any loose containers, whatever there is there, verifying the completeness and legibility of labels, approved drugs names, strength, any special storage instructions, and expiry date. So you have to check all these things which are requires the specification of the drug which are orders. It's dosage forms, its strength. So what all instruction which were given in the purchase order, it has to be verified according to that. If you could not find that, then what you have to do, is there any discrepancy that the store or stocks received are not according to that specification? You have to note it. You have to record it in a proper register. Everything has to be written in a register, or if there is a computer base, you have to write in a computer. So what if there is a missing box of carton? If there was a missing or less quantity has to be received, it has to be recorded. Then if there's open or tempered boxes or cartons are received, you have to return how much are tempered, how much are open. So if the missing supplies, if it's not according to that quantity which was ordered, so you have to note that there's a missing supply. Difference in the actual quantity and the quantity shown on the packing, whatever it, if it is a less or more quantity has to receive, it has to be recorded. Then they go for additional match. Sometimes what they do, they have to give substitute. They have to add some substitute of that drug. So it has to be recorded as additional medicine that had not been ordered but have been supplied. So in certain cases, the supplier may add some substitute of or some other brands of the same gen can be added. So it has to be reported that they have received, there was suppose they have ordered for 1,000 units, they have received 900 of the same brand and maybe 100 of the additional or substitute branded. So these all things has to be reported. This all has to be reckoned. If there's any damage, broken or poor quality medicine has been received, it must be recorded and informed to the concerned authorities over there. Any other further you can report over there, you can find. So these are to be has to be recorded and it has to be reported to the higher the chief pharmacist, whatever it is in your case over there. Sorry. Why there is a need of proper storage? Why it is appropriate of medicine essential to ensure that the potencies must be maintained to prevent deterioration, spoilage, and degradation. So it must be stored as the proper requirement of the drugs, as per the proper temperature required. Why, if it is not stored properly, what happens is that the potency may be altered, and then the drugs may be deteriorated, spoilage and degradation cannot be fit for the human consumption over there. So it must be to ensure, maintain the physical integrity of the drugs. Pattern of storage. Now, how the pattern of storage can be different in different pharmacies, vary to vary pharmacy. How they are stored? The medicine could be stored in certain cases company-wise. The manufacturers, they can give a one corner or shelf to one manufacturer. His drugs has to be placed in one rack, whatever. You can say the drugs are marks are placed over there. Medicine manufactured by one company should be grouped together uh, uh, by this procedure can be stored over there, or they can be stored by alphabetical order. They can be stored in alphabet. So the drugs from A, B, C, D, the name, they may be stored in alphabet order from left to right based on their names. So first is that they will be stored company-wise. Second pattern can be they can be stored alphabetically. What is the next? The medicine may be stocked, segregated, and according to dosage form. So another pattern can be, they may be stored according to dosage form. So liquid, bottle, solid, whatever the dosage form, they can be stored according to that. They may be ophthalmic drops, ointments. So they may be, so you have to have three patterns. One, they can be stored on the company names. They can be stored alphabetically. The third, they can be stored on a dosage form patterns in separate shelves over there. So another one thing, test storage according to the temperature is a must. The drugs, which whatever temperature they need, they have to be stored according to that. So which pattern of storage followed? Also within a particular storage area. Segregated storage may be maintained in a refrigerator. For example, medicines may be stored in trays, racks, and the freezers according to the temperature. You can see on the left side, these are special type of refrigerator for the storage of medicine. Here, these drugs are called refrigerated. Then you can see insulin over there. They are stored according to their temperature requirement over there. It must be in an orderly manner, neat and clean orderly manner. The stores must be stored in an orderly manner, not haphazard manner. The medicine are kept back in the same place from where they were removed. All the medicines are arranged neatly. Once in a while, the person should be careful. You can see on the right side are the good storage management and there is a bad storage management. So these drugs, medicine are stored in a neat and clean and a smooth pattern. You can see that good storage management, you can see bad storage management over there. With these temperature and security zone, medicine must be stored so that it's easily accessible and protected against damage. So they must be shelves, racks, drawers, whatever the requirement is, they are placed according to the requirement of these medicine within their required temperature over there. Refrigeration, all cold chain equipment should meet required standards. So these refrigerators are up to that requirement, whatever the temperature is required, you have to adjust according to that. Again, you can see these refrigerators, special refrigerator. Mostly they are non-frost. Opt for frost-free, I mean non-frost, because there's no accumulation of ice in that refrigerator. If there is ice, it gives the drugs cannot be stored properly if there is ice over there. So it must be non-frost refrigerators. They're easy to maintain and protect printed packaging material over there. So all these stores, the drugs cannot be placed over the floors. That storage of cartons on the floor should be avoided because besides being an unhealthy practice, the contents may also be damaged by moisture. So they do not be placed over the floors. Why? They may get the moistures from the floor and the drugs are damaged over there. So when they're placed in the refrigerator, must monitoring has to be done. Routine monitoring and maintenance of the refrigerators and to organize an effective repair system. The temperature in the refrigerator must be monitored and recorded routinely at least once a day. As you have seen in previously, there are the badge cards for these record of stocks. Similarly, there is a temperature maintenance chart is also attached to that refrigerator, that the temperature was checked in the morning and temperature was checked at going time. Similarly, there is also a temperature maintaining chart of that pharmacy is also maintained, because they note the temperature in the morning. Suppose if it's 30 degrees Celsius, if their AC is maybe less than 30 or 25, and when most of the pharmacies remain around the clock. So these temperature chart must be maintained. Any breakdown of the must be recorded, including the period during which the medicine was exposed to uncontrolled temperature. If there was a electricity breakdown, so it has to be recorded how long this was happened, that there was no electricity during this period. So extra requirement, extra means may be used to store the medicine in a cold temperature. Medicine may then be kept or discarded if they have exposed to that heat. So they may be taken out from that, they may be discarded. Cold chain monitor cards and devices in or on packages that change color or otherwise alert staff to potential damage, assist in monitoring. So cold chain monitor cards, as I told you, must be maintained. If there is an altered temperature, the stocks must be discarded, must be thrown out or returned to. Humidity is very important. Humidity or moisture control. Moisture or humidity can adversely affect the stability of medicines such as tablets, capsules, or if they remain moist or humidity, there can be affect stability. Gelatin capsules become soft and swell on absorption of moisture. The drug control of tablets may undergo surface hydrolysis if there is a humidity or moisture. So dehumidifier must be installed or placed in that pharmacy over there to control the humidity in a pharmacy over there. The presence of moisture may encourage the growth of microbes. If there is a moisture there, the growth of microbes can be happen. So therefore, essential to control the humidity. So dehumidifiers, there the instrument may be placed, may be kept, may be put in that pharmacy. So extra moisture can be absorbed with help of dehumidifier over there. So temperature, climatic conditions, temperature control, the medicine in a pharmacy needs to be stored at appropriate temperature to maintain their stability. An air conditioned environment where temperature can be controlled is recommended. For pharmacies, the air condition offers the option of setting the temperature as per requirements. It is ideal to have an air conditioner to maintain the temperature below 25 Celsius, as most medicines require storage below this temperature. Secondly, this temperature is pleasing to both the staff and the visiting customer too. So mostly the pharmacy must be air conditioned, must be temperature controlled. So if there is a healthy temperature or controlled temperature, so it is also good for the staff and visiting customers if the temperature is controlled over there. In the absence of the air conditioner, circulating fans may be used. Some air circulation may be used if there is no air conditioner over there. So last is that you can be a thermometer. If you feel hot, your medicine probably be to feel the same. So in hot atmosphere, the medicines are deteriorated. Therefore, they must be stored in a controlled temperature.